Welcome back to ICO Review, and today we'll be having a look at another 3 ICOs that have been brought to my attention throughout the last, 10 days in this case. But before we do, today's video is brought to you by ICOexplainervideos.com. If you are looking for a premium quality animated explainer video for your blockchain related product or ICO, then these guys are awesome. Check them out in the description below. You get to pay for, I believe it's now 50% of the deal with your tokens, which means you still get to print half of your money for what is probably the best explainer video you'll ever see. Starting off with Prontapay. Prontapay was actually brought to my attention by Tim Rayner, CEO of Bloxcart. So having a look at Prontapay, it seems to be a blockchain-based invoicing solution for businesses. So having a look on the page here, the world's first smart legal invoice payment system that will utilize smart contracts and blockchain technology to help businesses of all sizes get paid more efficiently, smart money on transaction fees, and create a more stable, fast, and secure invoicing ecosystem, all while rewarding users with Propay coins for every successful transaction. Now, before we dive into value prop or whether there's anything else like it out there, I want to tell you guys why I want to give this attention and why I like this project. So I don't just do YouTube. In the real world, I have a fiat business. And one of the biggest problems I face in my fiat business is this whole invoicing process, right? Now, typically we do 30-day accounts. When you give a company a 30-day account, every single company is different. Every single company's accounts department is different, depending on the size, depending on how many people they have working, depending on whether they're giving these types of things adequate attention. So, though you issue a 30-day account, it's not always settled in those 30 days, since then you have to spend time, resources chasing up these missing payments, all the while having to cop the cost yourself, paying employees out of your own pocket, buying materials out of your own pocket, until these companies pay up. So, instead of being 30 days late on a 30-day account, meaning 2 months until receiving payment for services rendered, we can just use smart contracts to settle these, I was going to say disputes, but they're not disputes. But we can use smart contracts just to settle the transaction process upon payment or upon completion of services. Because I'll be perfectly honest, in any trade industry, 9 times out of 10, if you're billing somebody else, they're more concerned about getting paid themselves. So you issue an account, they're waiting for an account that they have issued to be paid off, probably to another person who's waiting to get paid off from somebody else. It's a bit of a chain of delay that happens here. So I feel like these blockchain solutions could remedy that kind of late accountancy issue. So with something like Prontapay, not only are we, or whoever the business is, getting paid on time for services rendered, but then you're not wasting resources chasing up pay, because in the world of businesses, resources all cost something, whether it be your own personal time, which is a resource you could be using on attaining more gainful contracts, or whether it be paying somebody in your staff to chase up these unpaid invoices. It's all costing you more than what the initial job was, unless you have the foresight to calculate that type of thing into your initial quotation. You start losing out on your profit margins, especially if you're a small business. So Prontapay is only going to be charging a 1% transaction fee on this process, which I can't speak for the percentage that they give us, but I think it's something like 66% off of the market average. But I know that my existing softwares, it's about 2.6% of the transaction fee. So it's almost like standard interest on a bank account. And on top of that 1% fee, you'll also be receiving Propay tokens for actually using the platform. So there's a little bit of incentive for individuals to adopt this platform. And should Prontapay kind of ease their way into the tradie sector, I can definitely see some more savvy tradies kind of getting their mates on board, which is definitely how these things work. And I have seen blockchain technology kind of sweep trades before, but that was more in the lending sector. The thing is, if they find a utility, they'll use it. It doesn't necessarily matter what this blockchain technology is underneath, as long as this has a utility, a solid utility that is easy enough to understand, which will depend on the user interface. Adoption shouldn't be too hard for these guys, outside, of course, of marketing. So let's talk profitability for those of you that like to buy and flip tokens in the ICO world. There are 250 million tokens total supply, and they're hitting the market at 20 cents currently. So a bit of rough math, that's about 50 million if we presumed every single token hit the market today at 20 cents. So that might be a little bit higher than one may have expected to be successful earlier in the year. However, we are moving quite well in the market at the moment. Lots of green when I checked the charts this morning. So it could be very doable, especially moving into the end of May. Now, considering the style of this utility, for some reason Utrust keeps coming to mind. I don't know whether it's just the aesthetic but when we were having a look at Utrust, if I remember correctly, Utrust ICO'd at about 6.5 cents USD with a total supply of about 500 million, if I remember correctly. So that puts their cap at, what was it, like 52 million? So though they're far more diluted, similar hard cap, and we saw in January, the Utrust price was about $1, peaked at about $1.30 actually, and that's with a far more diluted pool than Prontapay. So if we can see some sort of similar traction, we might see Prontapay, heading towards that dollar mark if we have similar market conditions in, December, January 2018, 2019. But of course, as always, this is just wild speculation. I just feel like there are, a couple of parallels here to explore. But just above my head here, pre-sale is currently underway with main phase ICO happening in 49 days. Pre-sale comes with a 100% bonus, so there's more incentive, especially if we see similar market action as to what Utrust did last year. And of course, there are hype factors, etc., etc. 100% bonus. I'll pick up a few of these just for the what if factor, really. And listing on Bancore has already been announced as well, so that could be a good cash out factor. Definitely not for traders, Bancore, but good for quick cash out. And the next ICO we'll have a look at will be LevelNet, and they're actually another ICO that will be listed on Bancore after launch. Quick summary of these guys: blockchain-based antivirus. The LevelNet D app traces the exact moment of a virus attack on whatever device this application is placed upon. Then it's alerting all users, with the expected speed of a blockchain. And that will then allegedly protect all users from this newly detected threat. So the security of one is the security of all. Now, I had to read that off a piece of paper because looking at the page here, the first things that we see are, what's the point of owning the LevelNet token? And it's talking about the supply, and it's talking about the single token generation event. And I don't think that's the way to go about this particular project. I really think that, moving forward, just highlighting the validity of an ICO's individual use case is the way. At least it's the way to get me to pay proper attention. However, ignoring this text here and watching the video that's above my head right now, it paints a much clearer picture as to what's going on, which is how I obtained that summary. So I understand what they're trying to do here, but I would, if you're interested in this project, in this application, watch the video. Don't worry about the text. I like that they're citing here the biggest flaw in the cybersecurity world market being a lack of cooperation between antivirus protectors. So, one antivirus might detect a new threat and doesn't communicate the information to other antiviruses, thus giving them the edge. Whereas, with a decentralized platform, with a decentralized D-app, as it were, at least every single individual user is getting said information broadcast to them every time a block is processed. But here's a pretty good flow chart as to how the whole thing is going to operate as a use case. So an unidentified object gets into the user's device where no AV software is installed. The LevelNet Endpoint Security app registers the fact of an unidentified object penetration. Depending on the operation mode, LevelNet Endpoint Security app either blocks the unidentified object or sends it to be verified in the P2P network. Information about the unidentified object is registered on LevelNet servers to be validated against false or positive malware attack protection. Then, according to the verification results, if the object is not harmful, all LevelNet users are permitted to use it. If a threat was detected, information is rapidly distributed within the LevelNet network in order to prohibit the use of said object. So that's pretty cool. That's a nice, straightforward explanation of how this whole thing works. And in case you're wondering what the actual use of having a token here is, it's much like any utility case. Token owners gain exclusive access to the LevelNet. So essentially, you just can't use this damn thing without the token. Standard utility case. Now, I personally haven't seen anything like this before, so let me know in the comments section below if there are other decentralized antivirus projects, D-apps, anything like that out there. Quick bit on the token information. So level 1 of the token sale will be 1 US cent with 1.5 billion tokens issued, soft cap of 1.5 million, hard cap of 12 million, which with how the market is trending, I think is very doable, provided this project doesn't prove to be too niche. The public pre-sale is already live, 15 days and 12 hours remaining as of recording. They've already raised a little bit over $500,000. So that might be a little bit of an indication factor as to how this will be proceeding. Let's have a quick look at the Telegram to get an idea of what following they have. So it's a small group. I'd expect a group of only about 4,600 members to be rather organic. So scrolling up the page, we're seeing, and this is how I'm trying to figure out how things are organic these days, kind of scrolling through the group, seeing how many unique names are commenting and commenting things that aren't just hi. And yeah, it seems like there's a nice amount of people commenting in here, a good amount of unique names interacting. So, bodes well. Now getting over to the final one for this video, XYO Network. I've been itching to finally get to this one on the list. It's just some Star Trek style stuff, and though usually I'm interested in real world use cases today as opposed to Star Trek style stuff, I think it's both. I really do think XYO token, XYO Network could be both those things. It's very, very cool. So at a glance, it's very smart contract centric, bringing smart contracts into the real world, as they say, and they're doing that through GPS technology. So XYO Network wants to execute smart contracts based on locational data. So for instance, consider e-commerce. So what we can do here with XYO Network is have the locational data continuously transmitted onto the network itself using Internet of Things devices that are enabled with the XYO app. Continuously checking the location and registering the location of your given item purchased, say, from your favorite e-commerce site on the XYO blockchain. And the whole purpose of that is to track the delivery process and initiate payment on delivery. So you think about the e-commerce sector where, for instance, there could be an issue with paying for an item on eBay and then never receiving said item. Now, I don't think it happens much anymore thanks to PayPal, but you think about lesser platforms like Gumtree, or even, I don't know, whether people are drop shipping off Craigslist or, drop shipping off Facebook, things like this. XYO token can make it so you're not parting with your dollars or your tokens or your ETH or whatever. until you actually receive the goods in question. So going a little bit deeper on this particular idea, location data is used every day across the world. Societies and economies are becoming increasingly reliant on the certainty and security of location hysterics. Self-driving vehicles, package delivery drones, and smart cities are will likely call for an increased reliance upon trusted location data. The adoption of the technologies of tomorrow centers on the ability to trust the location heuristics they receive from an off-chain resource. Now, continuing on, the need for difficult to distribute systems to complement GPS has been well known for some years, allegedly. GPS is exceptionally accurate and dependable, yet jamming, spoofing, cyber attacks, and other forms of interference appear to be growing in frequency and severity. This has the potential for devastating effects on our lives and economic activity. That's a really interesting point. I can only talk about GPS spoofing from a gaming point of view. So thinking about AR devices that rely on your location in real time, Pokemon Go, things like that. And there is a lot of GPS spoofing done there to game the system. So given a lack of security, were we to transition that type of locational reliance onto something like package delivery that is freely accessible in a standardized app, maybe that would be open to abuse. I don't know. However, here, using the blockchain to confirm locations, multiple Internet of Things devices, and encryption to provide protection against said spoofing, it's a bloody interesting topic, and admittedly I probably don't understand it as well as I should. So let me know if you want a standalone video on this particular project, but it's just bloody fascinating. And I usually try and get through ICOs quickly in this particular format where we do group videos, but this is cool. I want to keep reading about it, frankly. So the platform XYO Network consists of 4 primary components: sentinels, bridges, archivists, and diviners. This is starting to sound like an RPG. Sentinel components are heuristic witnesses. They observe heuristics and vouch for the certainty and accuracy of the heuristic by producing temporal ledgers. The most important aspect of a sentinel is that it produces ledgers that diviners can be certain came from the same source by adding a proof of origin to them. The bridges are heuristic transcribers. They securely relay heuristic ledgers from sentinels to diviners. The most important aspect of a bridge is that a diviner can be sure that the heuristic ledgers that are received from a bridge has not been altered in any way. The second most important aspect of a bridge is that they add an additional proof of origin. Now, we're using that word a lot. Heuristic is a word used for an approach to problem-solving, learning, or discovery. So in this case, it probably refers to the problem-solving of the encryption and the discovery of the data, locational data for you to then view. So the archivist components store the heuristics in a decentralized form with the goal of having all historical ledgers stored, but without that requirement. Even if some data is lost and becomes temporarily unavailable, the system continues to function, but just with reduced accuracy. Archivists also index ledgers so that they can return a string of ledger data if needed. Archivists store raw data only and get paid only for retrieving of the data. Storage is always free. And finally, the diviners, which we've already kind of heard about. The diviners answer a given question by analyzing historical data that has been stored by the XYO network. To accomplish this, heuristics stored in the XYO network must have a high level of proof of origin to measure the validity and accuracy of the heuristic by judging the witness based as its proof of origin. Given that the XYO network is a trusted system, diviners must be incentivized to provide honest analysis of heuristics. Unlike sentinels and bridges, diviners use proof of work to add answers to the blockchain. And I imagine that's where the token comes in. So in this case, the diviner would be the application based upon what I've just kind of pieced together there that you are using to ascertain certain analytics and heuristics. Being, so take the e-commerce perspective, being the location of your item that is being shipped, for instance. You could even use this for like tile. Think about the tile, a crowdfunded device, GPS location for that you can put on your keys, or you can put it on the back of your phone and use the internet to find the tile's location, and thus the location of the thing you've misplaced. So there's application for that here on XYO as well. But honestly, guys, there's a hell of a lot more going on with XYO here than what I've already mentioned. So check it out yourself. You let me know if you want me to do a standalone video for this one. I think I'm probably going to end up doing it anyway because it's just cool. This is just cool tech. So the token sale has 25 days remaining. 1 Ethereum equals a hell of a lot of XYO tokens. Let's have a look at the total supply then. So the total projected supply, barring anything being burnt if it's not sold, is a little bit over 24 billion. Projected public sale cap is 48 mil. So there's some good figures. It's a nice diluted supply, for a utility. But the most important thing here for me is the psychology behind the speculation that goes along with this type of tech. So we know that markets are largely speculative here in the blockchain space. So either speculating on news or speculating on potential use case. And I feel like that this ICO is a type of tech and presented in such a way that people are kind of going to go nuts for it. And I'm really excited to see how it progresses. And I think there are some really exciting gains to be made here in the short to mid-term. So I'm going to snap some of these up for myself, but we'll talk more about that if we get into a dedicated video. And that's all I have for you on this one today. The links to all of the ICOs will be in the description below. Let me know what you think of the projects we've covered today, and if you want me to do standalone videos that go into a little bit more depth for any of them. I feel like I could have spent forever and a day on XYO tokens specifically. Of course, in a couple of weeks, we have the Bitcoin and Blockchain conference coming up. For those of you here in Australia, I'll be there. Hit me up if you're going to attend. I have been your crypto enthusiast, and I will see you in the next.